The estate of late NFL quarterback Dwayne Haskins has reached a partial settlement in a lawsuit against the driver, the owner, and the broker of the dump truck which hit and killed Haskins. It's been over a year since the 24-year-old former Pittsburgh Steelers QB was killed as he was walking along a South Florida highway. Well, the circumstances surrounding his death have in part remained a mystery, with his family alleging Haskins was drugged, robbed, and extorted before being fatally hit. His family also alleges the truck driver was speeding, driving carelessly, and had a cargo load over the legal weight limit. However, investigators say Haskins was standing drunk along the highway trying to wave down cars after running out of gas, hence he was hit. So here with us now, criminal defense attorney Janet Johnson to talk more about the case. Janet, thank you so much for being with us. So we know that this settlement has been reached when it comes to these three individuals, but we also know there are still 11 other defendants. So what does this settlement mean for those other defendants?
It might not mean anything. This is sort of like a law school exam. You have all these different causes, and you don't have to pinpoint that one thing was 100% at fault. Even if he was impaired, Florida, where I practice, has something called comparative fault. So he could be partially to blame. The other people that are being sued are the people who rented the vehicle that he was driving. They said there was some kind of mechanical fault that caused it to run out of gas, which is why he says the family says he was walking on the highway. Also, the people who allegedly abducted him, we don't have a lot of information about that, and the state of Florida, who they said the lighting was not proper on that roadway and the signage was not appropriate. So there's a lot of different people that are being, blamed for this. The question is going to be who has the deep pockets, who's going to settle. Presumably these individuals, these men and women who abducted him allegedly and drugged him, they may not be people that have any money that the family wants to go after anyway.
All right, so that was going to be my next question because, again, these are three individuals who we know have settled, but some of the other groups, are bars, are hotels, maybe, potentially some of those deeper pockets that you just alluded to. So what are the chances that they are found culpable in this or maybe also end up settling?
Yeah, I think that the people who served him at the bars, they may be found culpable because even though one of the allegations is he was drugged, he also was 0.20 BAC, blood alcohol content, which is almost 3 times the legal limit in Florida and in most states. So whoever served him probably is going to be responsible if they can pinpoint that. These people, the 4 people who allegedly abducted him, they may not have anything to go after. The state of Florida, even though there's some amount of immunity, I suspect they will settle as well, because if that lighting on that road was so defective or the signage was so defective that even though someone shouldn't be walking on that highway, if someone did walk on the highway because their car broke down, they shouldn't get killed by this truck. So I think comparative fault, there will be an apportionment for the state, the people who served him. Again, these individuals who haven't been charged criminally either, I'm not sure that we'll ever see any money paid out by them.
All right, so I want to talk about that because there have been no criminal charges here. You mentioned Haskins' blood alcohol content there. We know that the toxicology showed that, his alcohol content, his blood alcohol level was over the legal limit, but apparently he also had ketamine and norketamine in his system. So, we hear these allegations from the family, but is this part of the reason there doesn't seem to be more of a push from police, from investigators to look into this as anything more than a tragic accident? Is that why we have yet to see charges filed?
Potentially, when I see ketamine and norketamine, that tells me that the ketamine might have been in his system for quite some time. Nor just means that he's metabolized it. And we look for that in criminal defense because that could mean that it's been in his system for a couple of days, that he had taken it more than just that evening. The other issue is in criminal cases, the standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. It's much higher than the standard in a civil case. So to prove that these people did these things when there may not be witnesses, obviously he's unfortunately no longer with us, so he won't be a witness. It may be that they just don't feel they have enough to prove the case against these people, but they also might make arrests in the future. So we don't know that that's precluded. But, I think the combination maybe implies that they think that, he was drunk, maybe he was doing recreational drugs, and they're not sure they can prove the case against these 4 people.
All right, well, criminal defense attorney Janet Johnson, always laying things out in such an easy to understand way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.